Nvidia is collapsing in China. Even after Donald Trump's meeting with Xi Jinping and the loud declarations of new trade agreements, the company could not be saved. In a recent interview, Nvidia CEO Jensen Huang admitted that the company once controlled 95% of the Chinese chip market. Now it has zero. That fact alone shows how quickly everything has changed. Nvidia once ruled China's artificial intelligence sector. Today, it has been completely pushed out. Billions of dollars have vanished. The crash came right after Trump promised to restart trade relations. Cameras showed smiles and handshakes, but China was already acting. Huawei's new chips replaced Nvidia, and Beijing ordered its tech giants to buy domestic components instead of American ones. The year 2025 was supposed to mark a turning point in US-China relations. After months of tension, Donald Trump met Xi Jinping at what was called a breakthrough summit. But that very meeting proved one thing: China no longer needs American chips, and that means Nvidia is truly in trouble. The handshake in Beijing did not open the market. In reality, it changed nothing. China did not buy Nvidia's products, and the deal mentioned by the media had no impact on trade between the two countries. Behind the smiles lay Beijing's decision to abandon American technology. Companies that once depended on Nvidia's powerful chips, Alibaba, Baidu, Tencent, turned to domestic manufacturers. It was the complete breakdown of trust between the world's two largest economies. Nvidia's fall in China revealed far more than just the loss of one market. It became a symbol of America losing control over the global technology arena. Nvidia is not just another IT company, it is the heart of the American artificial intelligence empire. By 2025, its valuation exceeds $5 trillion, making it the most valuable company in the world, worth more than Apple and Microsoft. Its chips, the famous GPUs, are used everywhere, from AI research and drones to military simulations and data centers. More than 80% of the world's AI computing power depends on Nvidia's architecture. In other words, without Nvidia, the United States cannot be the leader in AI. That is why China is so important for Nvidia, and therefore for America. Until recently, China accounted for about 20 to 25% of the company's total revenue, around $12 to $15 billion per year. In 2023, the share was even higher when Chinese cloud giants, Alibaba, Tencent, and Baidu, were building massive AI centers based on H100 and A100 chips. Losing that market is not just a blow, it is a gaping hole in the US economy and its geopolitical influence. The American government understands this. That is why, even with export restrictions on advanced technologies, every administration has tried to preserve at least partial access. Washington wants Beijing to keep buying, but not too much, and not too powerful. This is the irony of the US-China chip war. America wants to sell China billions of dollars worth of Nvidia chips while banning the most advanced models. The most powerful H200 chips and the Blackwell series are officially listed as strategic technologies prohibited from export to China. The United States wants Chinese money, but not Chinese progress. It is business disguised as national security, and this contradiction is destroying the market America itself created. But here is the twist. China no longer needs Nvidia's best chips to compete. Engineers in Beijing and Shenzhen have learned to combine many mid-power GPUs into a single system, achieving the same or even better results. This technique, called parallel processing, allows thousands of less powerful processors to work as one brain. Yes, it requires more chips and more energy, but China has both: cheap electricity and an army of engineers. The result is astonishing. They are achieving high performance without Nvidia. Huawei's Ascent 910B chips and SMIC processors, built on a 7-nanometer process, are already used in large-scale projects like Baidu Ernie and Tencent's new cloud AI. While Washington debates what level of technology can be legally supplied to China, Beijing simply bypasses the problem. To show how serious this has become, it is worth noting that in 2025, Nvidia's CEO Jensen Huang spent most of his time trying to personally restore relations with China. His actions in recent months show a rare level of desperation for an American corporate leader. He is trying to persuade both Washington and Beijing to reopen the doors that politics has closed. Realizing that Washington is not acting fast enough, Huang took an unprecedented step. He went directly to China. In May 2025, he visited Beijing and Shenzhen, meeting with officials from the Ministry of Industry and Information Technology and the National Development and Reform Commission. He also held closed-door talks with executives from Huawei, Baidu, and Tencent, companies that once depended on Nvidia chips but have now switched to domestic solutions. Nvidia was allowed to sell only models that meet export restrictions, but the era of dependence on American technology is over. Meanwhile, Beijing added a new element of pressure. In the summer of 2025, Chinese regulators launched a preliminary investigation against Nvidia, accusing it of violating antitrust laws. The Internet Authority ordered major companies to suspend purchases of certain Nvidia models during the review. There were also reports that state institutions were advised to cancel or postpone orders, effectively removing some products from the list of approved items. As a result, the company found itself trapped between two fronts: American restrictions and Chinese investigations. The numbers look painful. Nvidia stopped including China in its official revenue forecasts, an unspoken acknowledgement that the company no longer expects to earn there. Analysts estimate the combined losses from the collapse of the Chinese market and unsold inventory at approximately $5.5 billion. Nearly 1/4 of Nvidia's global data center revenue has vanished. Wall Street tries to ignore the warning signs. The stock price remains high because investors believe in Nvidia's dominance in the United States and Europe. But the real picture is different. The company's production capacity has expanded in South Korea, Taiwan, and the United States itself, yet none of these markets can replace China's massive demand. Before restrictions were imposed, China consumed more than 1/3 of all global AI chips. Losing it means losing the foundation of scale. Meanwhile, the United Arab Emirates and Saudi Arabia have quietly become the main, and perhaps last, chance for Nvidia to compensate for the loss of China. Over the past 2 months, negotiations have turned into concrete action. U.S. export licenses and Middle Eastern investments have begun forming a new supply channel approved by Washington. The key steps took place in October and early November of 2025. The U.S. government approved the export of advanced Nvidia GPUs to the UAE under strict oversight. Almost immediately, Microsoft, after receiving permission for cloud operations in the region, announced plans to ship tens of thousands of Nvidia GPUs to the Emirates as part of a large-scale investment program to develop AI and cloud infrastructure in Abu Dhabi. The project was described as the gold standard of security and monitoring that the United States can now cite as a model for controlled exports. Reuters and AP confirmed the approval and the start of shipments, but the path has been far from smooth. According to industry sources, the licensing process is slow, and investment and infrastructure projects are stalling despite political agreements. Some Gulf initiatives remain frozen. Company executives admit that even months after the collaboration was announced, export licenses and contracts are still unsigned. This raises concern. The window of opportunity may close if policy or oversight shifts. All of this shows that the Gulf direction, while promising, is extremely fragile. Yes, Nvidia can still sell its technology abroad, but only under tight U.S. supervision. Behind these deals lie delays, bureaucracy, and political risk. The Middle East is not a new market but a lifeline that is already beginning to crack. If these partnerships fail, Nvidia will lose not just billions, it will lose its last chance to remain in the global race. And if you enjoyed this analysis, subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications. See you in the next video.